We're asked here today to bring a prop to the table, so I'll bring you one of my favorite props in this game, and that's just going to be, it sounds redundant, but let's bet on Patrick Mahomes. His passing yard total it was 250 and a half. It's bumped up to 251 and a half, but to me, it's still too low. The first question I asked myself, Joe, very simply was, do I think KC can gain 350 yards in this contest? I happen to think they can. Can they gain 100 of that on the ground? Because that would put Patrick Mahomes down to 250 passing. I don't think they can gain 100 on the ground just due to the matchup. KC's ground game hasn't been great. Philadelphia's run defense is elite. It's going to have to be in the air for Kansas City. If you add to that real quickly, I'll just jump ahead a couple of spots here. If you add to that the fact that KC may be playing from behind like they did in that first Super Bowl, then the ball gets up in the air even more. Where the passing game is concerned, I just find, and I've been talking about this for 5 weeks, the diversity of that passing game that Kansas City has is just too much to handle. If you go through their games, you'll find that Houston tried their best to just single up Travis Kelce with their middle linebacker, Azeez Al-Shaair. Didn't work. Kelce chewed him up. Buffalo came with the opposite approach. Let's try and bracket Kelce. Let the other guys have theirs. The other guys got theirs. Mahomes threw for 242, and the only reason why he didn't get to 252, which is what we need here, is because they were able to run against a weak Buffalo defense. They gained 135 on the ground. Some of that due to Mahomes' scrambles. You have to figure that in. But still, you're not going to run on Philly the way that you ran on Buffalo. If you look back, Tyler Higbee had a huge game against this team before he got hurt. Zach Ertz had 11 catches last week. So Kelce's going to be a problem no matter what. But when you start adding in Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy and that speed, two guys, not one, two guys that can beat you vertically, it's tough. Hopkins, Schuster, the guys that don't show up in box scores that often but make 20-yard catches, Noah Gray, the running back screen passes. 251 to me seems awfully, awfully low. I think the point is pretty simple here that Philadelphia's got a good enough run defense to force KC to the air. Andy Reid knows that. He's had 2 weeks to put a passing game plan together. I like that. The Philadelphia pass rush, which a lot of people talk about rightfully so, it's not better than Houston's. Houston's probably better. If Philly's run defense isn't better than Houston statistically, so they've already seen this. KC tried to force the run against Houston. 22 of 50 offensive plays were running plays. Some of that due to the fact that they were ahead late. Just go back, Joe. I'm not taking very much from that first Super Bowl between these two, but I'll leave you with these two thoughts. The receiving core Kansas City had that game was garbage. Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney caught meaningful touchdown passes in that game. That's what they were down to in that contest. Here, this receiving core is significantly better. Also, in that game, Philadelphia was ahead 24-14 at halftime. In the second half, KC scored on every single drive. Andy Reid had open receivers like I've never seen before, simply outcoached Jonathan Gannon. Some people say, oh, that's Jonathan Gannon. It's not Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio's 0-8 against Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to lean toward Andy Reid. I'm going to lean toward Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to lead to that passing game going over 251.5 passing yards.
It's so funny because, it's the healthiest this receiving core of Kansas City has been all year, by the way. They've got everybody available to them. And it's so funny because compared to a couple of years ago at Philadelphia, Veno, the outside looks the same from the wide receiver perspective, but those two running backs they had a couple of years ago were trash. They don't come anywhere even remotely close to what Saquon brings to the table. So it's really going to be interesting to see the chess match between Andy Reid and Fangio and, of course, Kellen Moore there and Spags, who, listen, he's taken guys like, if we're being honest, I mean, wasn't San Francisco the number one rushing team last year in that Super Bowl with a healthy Christian McCaffrey? How'd that work out for Christian McCaffrey? A couple of weeks to prepare, and they might suck all year long against the run, Veno. What is that? That's meant nothing with Spags' defense when it comes to the big games.
Nah, it really doesn't, Joe. And it's just his ability to confuse the other quarterback. I mean, it's been talked about a lot, but that last blitz he sent at Josh Allen in the game against Buffalo, was
Oh,
something Buffalo didn't recognize on film, didn't recognize it on the field, and it caught him by surprise. He pulls it out when it's the most meaningful.
yep.
Jalen Hurts isn't necessarily a four-read quarterback. It's like, let me
Right.
look one, let me look quick, let me take off. So confusion could be a part of this for Spagnuolo as well. It's a good, you could make as many counter arguments for the Eagles, let's face it, but this one we're looking at one specific prop. I think Mahomes will throw for 252 or better.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see that chess match again between these coaching staffs. But don't forget, a couple of years ago, he had a different offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. It wasn't Kellen Moore. It was Shane Steichen. And, he didn't get nearly as sacked as much. They didn't need to run the ball as much. He got rid of the ball a lot quicker. He's holding on to the ball a lot longer here these days under Kellen Moore. So it'll be interesting to see how both of these teams mix it up. You, though, are locked and loaded, ready to go for this big game. Veno, on your page at Wager Talk, we got college hoops tonight, NBA. What else you got going on there right now?
Both of those, NBA and college hoop for sure. The Super Bowl game itself is going up this afternoon. The props I'm going to put up all at once. I've got 4 done. I think we're going to have about 8 when all is said and done. They'll go up all at once, probably tomorrow afternoon. So you'll have everything ready and available. Again, the NFL, let me just say, Joe, the last couple of weeks in the playoffs, it's been good to me the last couple of years, the playoffs. Finished number 1 at Wager Talk in the playoff season last year. Last 2 weeks, 12-1 in the NFL playoffs. So we're on a really, really good roll here. I think I'm seeing it pretty clear. Once again, check it all out on my homepage at wagertalk.com.